I think that's hugely important, because if you lose that perspective, you start getting drawn into an all-consuming career, and your values change.
The lawyer I'm interviewing today has been a partner at Magic Circle law firm Clifford Chance since 2011. He's in the firm's financial institutions group and works in the corporate practice advising insurers, banks, asset managers and other financial institutions on mergers and acquisitions, financial products and other commercial arrangements. He has written extensively on insurance regulatory matters. He read law at Trinity Hall, Cambridge and graduated in 1999. He joined Clifford Chance as a trainee solicitor in 2001, qualifying in 2003. He is a member of the firm's India group and speaks Hindi. He is also involved in graduate recruitment and various pro bono and diversity initiatives at Clifford Chance. In fact, the lawyer I'm interviewing highlights one very significant fact, that there is diversity in diversity. He's committed to supporting and has spoken very widely on LGBT issues, that is lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender, and indeed other diversity issues. He's a pro bono legal advisor to the Human Dignity Trust and the Pride House Foundation. He's also a sponsor partner of ACCA's Clifford Chance's LGBT network, established in 2007. The lawyer I'm interviewing today is Narind Singh. Narind, welcome to the BLD Interviews.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, let me just ask you, what was your first ever job?
My first ever job was actually, let me think. It wasn't very glamorous. It was working. It was working in the Odeon call centre in Bromley.
Call centre?
Yeah, so taking bookings over the phone.
Okay. So was that any fun?
It was only fun because I had friends working with me.
Okay.
But other than that, no.
So from the call centre, why did you choose law? What did you say?
It wasn't a career choice. No. It was a summer job. I had a summer job there. So why did I choose law? That was mainly because, in a funny way, I did a law degree because I didn't really think I was good enough at any particular subject at school to actually do that as a degree. So I did English, French, and gosh, I can't remember, English, French, biology and maths for my A-levels. I didn't want to be a scientist. I didn't want to do English.
An egghead. You had 4 A-levels. Ah, very clever.
But yeah, so I didn't know what to do, so I just did a law degree. It's funny, there was no science to my choice. I didn't do any research. And I really enjoyed it.
No lawyers in the family? Just
no lawyers, and I really enjoyed it, so I thought, why not?
Okay. So once you'd read law, you just thought, right, this is a career choice for me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I went, I did my research into what part of the law I would want to do, whether I wanted to be a barrister or a solicitor. I chose solicitor.
Okay, and why did you decide that?
It's funny actually. I did a sort of work experience thing at in barristers' chambers, but it's just not for everyone.
No.
And you need different qualities for each one. So each of to be a barrister or a solicitor, and I thought I had qualities that were better suited to being a solicitor.
So you're very, very practical about it. You knew what you needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so you made the choice. But if you were, now thinking back now, if you were to choose any other career other than law, you love what you do, I know, you told me, but if you were to choose any other career other than law, what would it be and why?
I actually think it would be, let's think about this. Most of my friends, a lot of my friends, well all of them in fact, are in very different careers. So, having looked at what each of them do and having looked at, what other people in my family have done, I would probably choose medicine.
And we'll say, it's saving lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Doctors are always, very popular people, I think.
What would you say was the best and indeed the worst career advice you were given?
Best and worst.
Best and worst.
Okay, difficult. Best career advice I ever got was family comes first. And I think unless you or unless you balance your personal life with work. Obviously it's a tough job and you do have to make sacrifices on your personal life, but your family comes first.
So what about the worst?
The worst career advice, and I have to be careful what I say, don't I, in case the person who gave it to me is watching it.
Who said that?
The worst career advice I ever got was actually when I was at university speaking to the careers advisor, and his advice was, are you sure you want to do law? There are other things that you may be good at. Have you thought of a career in, other careers? I'm not maligning them, it's obviously a personal choice, but something that I don't think personally would have been suited to me.
What?
Well, exactly, careers that I don't think would have been suited to me, like media, for example. I think it's a great career to go into, but I don't think it necessarily sort of fits in with my skill set.
No. What would be the best advice you would give others? Any hints and tips for,
in a career choice, not just talking about law.
Yes.
Career advice would be, think very, very carefully about what you think your skills are and what things you think perhaps you wouldn't be, you're obviously young, that you predict you don't think you would be very good at. Do a bit of research into exactly what each career entails, what on a day-to-day basis at a young age you would be doing. Don't assume, for example, if you want to be a lawyer, that on day one you'll be in court standing on your feet arguing against somebody, or you're going to be in a solicitor's negotiation all night, arguing on behalf of your client, because obviously you start at a sort of doing, to be able to learn to do that, you have to start at a less interesting, you could say,
routine stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. So there's that aspect, skill set, doing your research, understanding what you would actually be doing in your early years, and also don't get too het up about it, because frankly you're young, or even if you're not, it's the beginning of a career, and people change careers and they move workplaces if it doesn't suit them, and if you're not entirely happy in a job, don't stick at it necessarily, because life's too short. Move to what you think you'll enjoy.
Good advice. Yeah. Good advice. Just moving back to you now, what would you say you're most passionate about?
What am I most passionate about? I'd say music. I love music, all types of music.
All types, okay.
And I try and make time to... Actually, I gave up the violin 10 years ago with the excuse that I ought to work hard for my career, and I've just started lessons again. I've been told it's like riding a horse, you'll be fine as soon as you start, but that's absolute rubbish.
What does the music do for you in terms of when you immerse yourself, let's say playing the violin?
It relaxes you. I mean, it gives you a perspective that you really enjoy stuff, and you used to be good at something other than what you're doing.
Job,
So do it.
Good.
Do it. It gives you a perspective.
Yeah. So
it gives you a break. You can think about something else for an hour or however long you're playing for.
Hopefully I'll hear you play the violin one day.
Sorry?
Hopefully I'll hear you play the violin.
Oh God, no. It would always be in a small room in my house with thick walls.
Not for public consumption.
Yeah, absolutely not. Very thick walls.
What would you say? I mean, we now know your passion and what you really like. What about your dislikes?
My dislikes are dishonesty, arrogance, and so dishonesty, arrogance, and stinginess. I don't think it's unusual to have that as a dislike, but those are my pet hates, I would say.
Okay. So you like generous people,
generous with their time, not necessarily their money. Generous with their, with their hearts, essentially. Yeah.
Great. What about, who do you admire most, dead or alive, and why?
Oh gosh, difficult. I admire quite a few people. Who do I admire most? I think, let's not sort of focus on, as a musician, as a career advisor or someone who works in the law. I think the actual person in respect, who's given the most to society, I think is probably the best way of looking at it. And I think I would say Gandhi, and that's not just because he's Indian. It's because the Gandhian principles, I think, almost all of them resonate with me. And what was it that he said? The one that I always keep remembering when when you're on the news and you're hearing about potential wars that the West is waging against certain other areas of the world, or vice versa. It's two-sided. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Absolutely. Is that what he said?
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. It's not just wars, it's everything. It's just the concept of revenge is human nature. But if you remember that,
then you think of the consequences. So it makes you sort of pause. And think
what's the good of it?
Yeah, the legal profession is said to be very, very conservative, and up until recently, not very LGBT friendly whatsoever. But now things are changing. I mean, you can see Stonewall, even the Stonewall, in the last 2 or 3 years at least, law firms are now featuring on the top 100 employers. How have things changed, do you think, for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender men and women, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult in that it varies from, which aspect of the profession, which area of law do you work in, what sort of firm do you work in. But from my personal experience, I think it's changed. It's come along leaps and bounds since when I started. When I started, it was quite a macho environment, frankly. I do M&A corporate law. It still is, but less so. It's quite a macho environment. So as a 23-year-old, I was very reluctant to let people know or give the impression that I was gay. And I think that's changed considerably. I'm not saying it would have been controversial or difficult, but that was my perception. It probably, it could have been controversial, but I wouldn't have heard what people were saying. And I think in the past 10 years, as there's been more visibility and more, politics and legislation have changed for the better, obviously, people are just becoming more aware of the issues and more aware of the existence of the community, and I think that helps a lot. And I think there's been generational change, which helps a lot.
The youngsters are completely different.
And the more senior people in the firm are just actually very open-minded, and certainly from my experience, I haven't felt, or I suppose haven't seen, but more importantly haven't felt that there is any sort of discrimination, at least. Well, there may be judgments, you're never going to hear about them, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Nothing.
Whether it's generational or whether it's for any other reason, there's nothing you can do about it. But frankly, my view is I don't really care about those as long as my friends, family and close colleagues support me.
That's fine.
And I don't think it's affected my career development as far as I can work out.
Great. You talk about leaps and bounds. Are you able to give me some examples of this leaps and bounds, the changes that's happened in the last 10 years, for example?
Well, our firm's LGBT group has got up and running and now has more than 100 members in 5 different offices around the world. It's growing. There's more visibility. People are very much willing to not hide, if that makes sense, their sexuality. And they found out, and everyone's found out, that actually there's no need to, because everyone's very supportive. Our senior partner, our managing partner, they turn up to our events, they speak at conferences, and as you've witnessed, they're all very supportive, and it's something they feel is very important for the business as well.
What further change, I mean, talking about leaps and bounds, what further changes though would you still like to see? In the professional environment? Professionally.
I just think more and more visibility. Professionally, more and more visibility. I think there's a lot more either acceptance or support at senior levels or elsewhere in the workplace from the non-LGBT community for the LGBT community, and that's growing. So obviously, it doesn't need to come on leaps and bounds, but it just needs to grow. Certainly, from my experience. I think politically it's a very controversial, difficult topic. I think in the UK and certain other Western jurisdictions, we're lucky that things are moving for the better politically, legally. They're not perfect. You know, things could be better, and I don't need to give examples, but I think gay marriage is a very good example of what's been. I don't think we can underestimate. You know, there are gaps in it. There'll be gaps in everything. There'll always be room for improvement.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that I'm very, very conscious about is that there is diversity in diversity. When people talk about, let's say, ethnic minorities, we're all the same, all one thing or the other. If you're Asian, you're like this. If you're an African, you're like that. Or what? So there is a lot of diversity. You're both an ethnic minority, gay, and I'm sure other things that I have no idea about. But do you find that you face more obstacles because you're both an ethnic minority and you're gay?
I don't feel as I probably do, but I don't feel as though I do, and maybe that's just because I'm more positive, and maybe that just gives you more. I think being positive, I think being too conscious of it is a negative. I think it makes you less confident. I think it makes you embittered. And I think if you have the opposite qualities and you think, well, who knows, am I being discriminated against? Maybe I am, who cares, I'm going to try my best. Taking that sort of attitude makes you more confident, probably makes you better at your job and more fun to be around. And if you're good at your job and fun to be around, hopefully those are good reasons to be able to succeed.
Great.
Concentrate on your work rather than on, you know, embitteredness, whatever the word is.
Focus on where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Work hard, focus on how you think.
Knowing actually that your partner at Clifford Chance, one of the world's largest law firms, I'm just thinking, what do you consider to be your professional high point so far?
Becoming a partner.
Okay.
Probably too obvious an answer, but yeah, I mean, I was proud. There's always room. You're always junior at some point. You know, when you were fresh at university, you're junior. When you were first year at school, you're junior. When you start as a trainee, you're junior. You know, when you start as a lawyer, you're junior, and I'm a junior partner. So there's always room for you know, learning and development.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of it.
Okay, great. Knowing what you've just said, do you feel you have more mountains to climb professionally?
Absolutely. As I said, there's
always.
Well, I'm not going to give away my deficiencies on camera, but let me think of something that doesn't put me down. I think, in terms of commercial awareness, obviously to get to this stage, having worked in 10 years, you're very commercially aware. I think there is always room at whatever level, however senior you are, to get more commercial or industry awareness, because it's not just about the letter of the law, and I think everyone knows that. It's probably patronising to say that to the people who are watching this. It's about understanding other needs and understanding the financial environment, the macroeconomic environment, your client's business, all those sorts of client's goals, your client issues your client is facing. You have to understand those nowadays, and it's all, you know, it's equally as important as knowing the law. And unless you do that, or take the time to do that, then you're not going to be good at your job.
So you're going to know more about the business.
The older you get, the more you know. It's a fact of life. It's not necessarily a question of not knowing enough, because obviously you do know enough to be able to do a very good job, but you learn more as time goes on.
Deeper.
Yeah.
The final question I have for you, I always ask everyone that if you could rule the world for a day, one day.
Oh, I know what's coming. Oh God.
What would you change or do?
I don't want to sound like Miss World and say world peace and, you know, something very broad brush like that. What would I change that's realistic? Okay, not idealistic. I would.
Well, you have a choice. It could be.
I could be sitting here for the next half an hour. I'm not sure whether I'm going to answer that so quickly. You should have told me in advance that was coming. I would have thought about it very carefully. What's one thing I would change? I would change, or I would try and make, or inspire politicians, people in senior positions, people with influence, to spend a bit more time explaining and advocating how important the environment is. And I think alongside a number of fundamental things like world peace, which I'm not sure whether anyone's ever going to be able to achieve, because that's a question of human nature. Environment is something that things can be done about. There are various ways of dealing with it without ruining or materially affecting the economy, which is what most people are
in
concerned
that one
about.
day, what you're going to do?
Oh, that's a good point. It's one day.
It's one day.
Oh,
so
gosh.
that one day, it could be that one day. It could well turn out to be permanent, but that one day you have the power to change or do something. What are you going to do with that? About the environment?
Yeah. I think I would turn up. I would break into the White House, turn up in Mr. Obama's office, and not refuse to leave. Lock the door and refuse to leave until he promises to do a list of 10 things that this is a cheat that I've written down in advance of that day, and make him say yes to all of them.
Absolutely.
To promote environmental causes.
It's gone worldwide.
Yes, and sign a piece of paper because I am a lawyer, so I can sue him if he doesn't.
Looking forward
to you
ruling the world for a day.
It's not ruling, but it's influencing a ruler. Probably easier.
Ruling the ruler.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Narind Singh, thank you.
Thank you.